Southern California is in shock tonight after a mass shooting at a bar in Thousand Oaks.
We have the latest from a community still in mourning. See It Live starts now. "13 people are dead tonight after a gunman opened fire late last night at the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks. Good evening, I'm Charlotte Scott.
And I'm JP DeBoo. Communities from all over Southern California are grieving after college night at that local country bar turned deadly. You're about to see video from inside the bar last night, and we want to warn you about the disturbing sound from the scene.
Run, go! He's coming out this door!
A gunman threw a smoke bomb and opened fire at the popular Thousand Oaks bar last night, killing 12 people, including a sheriff's sergeant, who was among the first on the scene. 18 others were injured as well. The shooter was a former Marine thought to have suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, and he is also dead. The Borderline Bar and Grill was hosting a college night with many students in attendance.
We were getting into bed, windows open, about 11:20, and you heard pop, 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 pop. And heard people screaming, heard people cursing, and there was a break in the gunfire, and you heard glass breaking, and we knew something's bad. This is bad.
The Borderline Bar is in Thousand Oaks. That's about 40 miles north of USC in Ventura County. The bar was a popular spot for college students.
The city of Thousand Oaks is holding a candlelight vigil tonight in remembrance of the victims.
Annenberg Media's Gabby Gonta and Cecil Hannibal are live at Thousand Oaks City Hall with more. Guys?
That's right, JP and Charlotte. It's a somber night here in Thousand Oaks, but this vigil has been uplifting so far. The community is gathered in prayer circles. People are holding candles, singing songs, and hugs are happening all around us.
Yes, I spoke with two students from Cal Fullerton who said they were invited to the Borderline Bar and Grill last night, but they decided to stay home. One of those students said her sister was there, and she barely made it out alive.
That's right, Cecil. I also talked to a man who is one of many community members who are sharing their stories of gun violence and hoping to console other people here. He says he lost his daughter in the UC Santa Barbara shooting just a couple years ago.
This is a real shock, a real jolt to us that something like this could happen here. But the way people are, the way they were for me and my family after my daughter, who went to Westlake High School, was killed, was just very gratifying and very helpful to our healing.
I'm here with my friend Jesse Suter, who has been a former security guard at the Borderline Bar and Grill. Jesse, what is Borderline like on a regular night, and how is the Borderline family a community?
On a regular night, friends go there to hang out and have fun and get to dance and enjoy each other, and it's a family. Everybody that goes there is friendly, and we all like each other, and I'm just scared that it's no longer going to be that safe place that we had growing up, that we felt we could never have to worry about anything, but it's changed.
Right. How do you think this community is going to be changed by this, and what are some things that we can be doing to prevent future things like this from happening?
I think the community realizes now that we have to stop saying it's not my problem. It's our problem now. And if the community can pull together and take care of the people in need, keep an eye on everybody. I'm not saying be snoopy, but take care of everyone and hold people accountable for their actions, and people just need to know that there's support and love.
Right. Thank you so much, Jesse, for talking with us. Enjoy the rest of your night here at the vigil, where we are honoring the victims of last night's shooting at the Borderline Bar and Grill here in Thousand Oaks, California. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Gabby and Cecil. Among the victims are Cal Lutheran student Justin Meek, who was studying criminology and criminal justice and worked at the Cal Lutheran Veteran Resource Center. Also, 22-year-old Cody Kaufman. Kaufman spent time as an umpire for the Conejo Valley Little League and hoped to join the Army. Pepperdine freshman Elena Housley founded the HIO Soccer Outreach Program to provide soccer gear to less fortunate teens around the world. One of the first victims was Borderline Bar and Grill's bouncer Sean Adler. He was 48 years old. 21-year-old Noelle Sparks, a Moore Park College student, was also killed. She volunteered at her church and youth camps. Thousand Oaks resident and country music fan Telemachus Orphanos was killed. He was a survivor of the mass shooting in Las Vegas last October. And Marine Corps veteran and Thousand Oaks resident Daniel Manrique was recently hired by Team Red, White, and Blue, a nonprofit that supports veterans. One of the victims was Ventura County Sergeant Ron Helis. He was one of the first responders to the shooting. Helis was 54 years old and served in the Sheriff's Department for 29 years. He was planning to retire within the next year. Helis leaves a wife and grown son. The Ventura County Sheriff's Department held a procession in honor of Sergeant Helis. One of his colleagues spoke about the fallen sergeant's bravery.
He's the guy that when you pick up that phone to call 911 and you're having a crisis, he's one of the guys you want coming in and answering that call and helping you. And a truly heroic, selfless act of bravery to go in there facing the certainty of gunfire, but the uncertainty of the situation. And he absolutely epitomizes the word hero.
This morning, families looking for updates on loved ones went to a reunification site at Thousand Oaks Teen Center. All morning, emotional family members leaned on each other at the center after the horrific night. Their city officials, community members, and medical personnel gave support and tried to make sense of the tragedy.
Thousand Oaks was one of the safest communities in our country yesterday, and it is one of the safest communities in our country today. This was a senseless act of violence, and no amount of preparation or security is going to prevent somebody that wants to do harm to others.
I think the agenda is also we send American citizens off to Afghanistan. We teach them how to fight and how to kill, but we don't do a lot to fix them when they come back, as a Vietnam veteran, okay? And so I think that's a sad state of it.
The suspected gunman in last night's shooting has been identified as 28-year-old Newbury Park resident Ian David Long. Long enlisted in the Marine Corps in 2008 and deployed to Afghanistan from 2010 to mid-2011. After being honorably discharged in 2013, he enrolled at Cal State Northridge but did not graduate. Long had no criminal record, but sheriffs reportedly called a mental health team last April because of his erratic behavior. He was not taken into custody.
Newbury Park residents are still trying to make sense of the tragic event that's hit so close to home. Local sheriffs, news vans, and residents surrounded Fowler Street this morning. Crime scene tape blocked off the suspected shooter's home as officers and FBI agents conducted a search. FBI agents were also seen going through the suspect's truck. Neighbors say this type of incident is unusual in this community.
I was woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. My wife screamed that she was on her phone, and she grabbed me and said there was a mass shooting at the borderline, and we were there 4 nights ago. We were looking at on this street. We're purchasing a home right now, and we were looking at a street on Fowler, and we met someone that said he lived on Fowler, and we looked at each other and couldn't believe it.
It's like an end of an innocence to me because it's one of the safest, I think it's still #1, the safest in the United States area to live.
It's a tragedy, and it's so sad that a person would be so deranged that they think they can somehow numb their pain by killing 11, 12 people and then themselves.
It's not shocking because it happens so often, but it's still very sad. I know I've seen police outside the house a couple times in the last year, and then I've heard stories that there was yelling and like neighbors had to call because there was just a lot of yelling and stuff going on in the house.
All we can do is pray, is pray for peace and pray that we can know a higher power and have some kind of consolation that there's no rhyme or reason to some things that happen here on earth, but that hopefully that there's an answer someday.
The Thousand Oaks community is shaken in the wake of this tragedy. The city is often touted as one of the safest cities in the country.
We heard the gunshots, and it sounded like firecrackers at first. And the next indication something was wrong was a lot of helicopters, about 6 of them just hovering. So we turned on the TV, and it was all being covered on television.
I left this morning right when the procession was going down the 101 in Camarillo, actually, which is about 15 minutes north, and there was just people lined up against the freeway.
Reporter Sylvie Sparks is at Cal Lutheran. The campus is quiet today because classes were canceled today and tomorrow.
She talked with students about the shooting at Borderline. And so, Sylvie, what's the latest?
Thanks, Charlotte and JP. It's been a very somber scene at Cal Lutheran all day today. Not too many people have been seen around campus because they canceled classes for today and tomorrow. But behind me here at Samuelson Chapel, there have been people here all day, members of the Cal Lutheran community, grieving, praying, talking, writing messages of support, just being together. And a lot of the students I've talked to said that they go to Borderline Country Bar on Wednesday nights for college nights frequently. And some of them were actually on their way there last night.
Last night, I was doing homework in my room and I got a call from one of my friends here that was asking if my roommates were at Borderline. And I said no, and I thought that was a weird question just because, I don't know, it was just random. And then she told me that there was a mass shooting at Borderline. This is a place that so many people go to from Cal Lutheran, and especially that it was college night too. So hearing that our friends were there, it was really hard. We checked the news right away and there wasn't anything. We looked online, there was nothing. All we knew is what we heard from our friends. And we were just getting texts from people there about what was happening. I don't think anyone will go back there. I'm wondering if it's going to shut down for good. I think that it should. Nothing like this happens in Thousand Oaks. It's supposed to be one of the safest cities. So, I mean, I know this kind of thing can happen anywhere, but it's just crazy to not feel safe. I didn't sleep very well last night with everything that was going on, and so I had to turn my phone off because it was just really bothering me hearing about everything. It's just really sickening. And when I woke up this morning, I woke up to all of these texts from people from back home, from school asking if we were safe. Like, everyone's just...
I cannot imagine what the entire Cal Lutheran and Thousand Oaks community are going through right now. At 6 p.m. tonight, a prayer meeting started here at the chapel, and at 7 and 7:30 there will be rosary ceremonies, and a lot of students are at Thousand Oaks City Hall right now for a vigil. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks so much, Sylvie. Among the people at the bar last night were students from Pepperdine University. According to the university's newspaper, the Pepperdine Graphic, there were 16 students at the bar on the night of the shooting. 18-year-old freshman Alana Housley was reported killed at the scene. 2 other Pepperdine students were also injured. The Moore Park College president talked today about the Borderline shooting and what measures the school is taking to support those students.
We're trying to double down on our counseling services for students. We're extending the hours. We're going to have a blood drive, a blood bank on campus next week. We're looking into having therapy animals on campus as well next week. And simply reminding all of our faculty and staff to be attentive to providing students with the support and the flexibility that they might need.
USC officials also responded to last night's shooting. Provost Michael Quick expressed his condolences in an email sent out to the student body. He wrote, "Reports suggest that many of the victims are college age, which makes this latest shooting hit even closer to home. I know many of you are tired and angry, and I share those feelings. As we try to collectively process another senseless tragedy, I want to reassure you again that your safety and security is our #1 priority." Today I spoke with the director of the National Center for School Crisis and Bereavement. While authorities have not yet identified a motive in the shooting, David Schoenfeld said the behavior is not typical among people suffering from PTSD.
So no, of course, this behavior isn't typical after post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder is unfortunately fairly common among individuals who have had traumatic experiences. And the vast majority of those individuals do not harm others. They really are at more risk of being vulnerable to being hurt themselves. But there are situations, obviously, with rare situations where individuals with post-traumatic stress disorder actually do hurt others. But that is obviously not the norm and not the expectation.
Schoenfeld also explained how to help students who have recently undergone a traumatic event. He says the most important thing is to keep them safe.
So I think one of the first things you want to do with individuals who have been through highly traumatic experiences is to make sure that they are now physically safe and to help make sure that they feel physically safe, to try and attend to some of their feel emotionally safe, to surround them with support, and then to make accommodations and adaptations so they can continue with their daily functioning, and then to encourage them and support them in coming to terms with what's occurred over time. But in the first day or two, it's really around keeping them safe, helping them feel safe, and then also providing them with support.
We have more now on the suspected shooter and the weapon he used. Let's go to Annenberg Media's Susie Placencia for that. Susie?
A .45 caliber semi-automatic handgun with an extended magazine was used in today's mass shooting. According to the California Department of Justice Firearms Division, while the sale of large-capacity firearm magazines was outlawed in the year 2000, possession of the same magazines was not. In 2016, California residents tried to pass a law that would make the possession of large-capacity magazines illegal, but it failed. A lawsuit by the NRA affiliate called the California Rifle and Pistol Association blocked the change. When a tragedy like this occurs, many question gun control regulations and background checks. Local residents are concerned about how guns get in the wrong hands.
I don't think it's a gun control issue. I think that he was using a legal firearm under the Second Amendment that is guaranteed us as citizens. He wasn't using anything illegal. Now, whether or not he should have had a gun, I don't know if a law can prevent that. It was a Glock 21. Anyone can go buy that gun legally with a FBI background check. It's a mental health issue. Even the mental health authorities came to his house and visited and cleared him. I just don't think that laws are going to make the difference. I think it's a cultural shift. I think it's loving each other. I think it's paying attention to your neighbor, loving everyone that we come in contact with.
I think it's time we kind of just did a little background check, at least. I know we won't take your guns away, but can we have a little background check? I mean, it's just amazing. You can keep your handguns, but do we have to have the military weapons? That makes no sense at all. I feel like I'm hearing echoes of Parkland, and how often does this have to happen? It's every other month. Well, I don't know. I hope we can do something about the guns.
California has some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. Some of the state's laws include the requirement of background checks at gun shows, a 10-day waiting period to buy a gun, a ban of assault rifles, and the need for permits to carry a concealed handgun. Back to you, JP.
In light of the shooting, we spoke to the co-lead of March for Our Lives in Ventura County about the role grassroots and student activism has on.
These organizations are meant to keep these conversations going and allow people to never forget these shootings, because it's so easy to ignore. As of now, I think we need to allow ourselves to grieve.
The Thousand Oaks shooting is the 307th mass shooting in the U.S. this year. In total, 328 people have been killed and 1,251 have been injured in those incidents. 4 of the largest mass shootings in the last 50 years happened in 2018. In February, 17 people were killed in a shooting at a local high school in Parkland, Florida. 10 were killed in a shooting at Santa Fe High School in Texas in May. And last month, 11 people were killed in the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 13 people were killed in last night's shooting. In California, there have been 32 mass shootings this year, resulting in 49 deaths and 131 injuries.
Hashtag borderline shooting is trending on Twitter as people mourn the victims. Former USC student and Annenberg Media reporter Kelly Ranke posted a picture of herself at Borderline years ago on Twitter. She wrote, "This is a picture of me and some college friends at Borderline during our sophomore year at USC. My heart goes out to my hometown, Thousand Oaks, during this unthinkable time. I would have never thought something like this could happen in such a safe place." Someone else asked, "Why does a person's right to bear arms outweigh other people's right to live?" One woman said, "I'm so sick of every other week hearing about a mass shooting and innocent lives be taken out for no reason." Another woman said she no longer reacts when she hears the words mass shooting. She asked, "When will something change?" Several politicians took to Twitter to mourn the loss of the victims and give support to the injured and their families. President Donald Trump said there was a great bravery shown by police. He went on to say, "God bless all of the families and their victims and families of the victims. Thank you to law enforcement. California Senator Kamala Harris wrote, "My heart aches to learn about the horrific shooting in Thousand Oaks on college night, praying for the injured and the families of those killed who, like so many others, have lost their loved ones to gun violence. Leaders in Congress must act, not someday, but now." Earlier today, elected Governor of California Gavin Newsom expressed his frustration regarding the number of shootings that have happened throughout the United States this past year.
It's a heavy heart. You come here a day or two after an election for governor. You want to be focused on other things. 23 folks injured, and obviously 13 lives in total lost. And it's, this is America. It's got to change. This doesn't happen anywhere else on planet Earth.
Today, dozens of people were lined up outside of Thousand Oaks High School to donate blood to the victims. Eligible O-negative donors are asked to visit a donor center.
I just opened social media and I saw all these recordings, and then I went on Twitter and saw all the news feeds and about the victims and then the need of blood. So then we just got in the car and came as soon as possible. You never really think it's going to happen so close by, but when it does, it's just kind of a reality check that you're not safe anywhere anymore, and you kind of have to just be thankful for the people around you, knowing that we can make a difference, as little as donating blood, something so little, but it's going to make a difference to saving someone's life.
If you want to help out, the donation site is at Lorena High School in Thousand Oaks. It opens Friday at 10 a.m. and will continue until 4 p.m. Thanks for watching See It Live on a tragic day in Los Angeles. From everyone at Annenberg Media, I'm Charlotte Scott.
And I'm JP Taboo. Well, the USC community is definitely thinking of the city of Thousand Oaks.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims and their families.
And be sure to check us out on uscannenbergmedia.com, where we'll have more information on the developing story. Good night.